Hey guys, this is Jenny and James, and today we're going to show you how to install an Espar heater into your Sprinter van.
So first we're gonna take out the front seat because we're gonna put it underneath the passenger seat.
So to take the bolts off the seat here, we're using one of these thingies. It's got like this little head and it says 11. So that's the size you need. And we're just gonna put that on a driver here to take them out.
So there's 4 of them.
And the driver's not gonna fit like this, so just pull the seat forward so you can actually get into it. And then try not to break it, I guess. Or if your thing is rusted, like ours was, you should get yourselves one of these. I think it's called a socket wrench. And then you can just do it manually, and that seemed to work. Muscles. The seat belt.
Ugh, look at that. No worries.
That sucker. That's mostly better. Alright, so we're just putting the heater in here, and we're just trying to arrange it in the way that we think would fit best. This is kind of what we've decided. So we've looked under the van, and we've noticed that there's this little pocket here that goes in here, and so that's taking up pretty much half the seat. So we want the holes to be drilled on this half of the seat, just so that we can actually reach them from the bottom. So we've got a pretty small area that we're trying to hit, and that's pretty much the only way to do it. So that's how we're going to arrange it. So the kit from Heatso comes with this plate, and I think it's for marking essentially where you're going to drill your holes, but it's not going to fit in the orientation we need it, so we're not going to use that. But there is this little rubber gasket that goes around everything. So we're just going to put this down, hold the rubber gasket to the floor, and then draw our little circles with where we've like held it to the floor essentially, if that makes sense.
So we're just gonna outline all the holes.
Sweet. This is that little pocket that I showed you on the side of the step. And then you can see this little wavy part. That's where we're drilling our hole, and I'll show you that up top as well. So it's basically like just on top of this, but we still should be able to reach it.
I'm just gonna make some pilot holes now just to make sure that we're all clear underneath. Just in these 4 spots for the smaller holes. So next I'm gonna use the hole saw to cut the bigger holes here. So next we're just going to spray paint the holes to make sure that rust doesn't form where we've cut the metal. So we're going to do it here on top and from underneath the van.
We forgot a hole.
So at first we tried to use a drill bit that we thought would be exactly the right size for the 4 bolts that were going to go down. But when we tried to put it in, it didn't actually want to go in. So we ended up upgrading to 5/16. So it's a little bit bigger, but it's going to make everything just go a little bit more smoothly. So we've just placed the rubber gasket back down, and then we're just going to put it on the holes that we've drilled there, and then James is going to screw it from the underneath. What's stopping it?
Your persistence. Just kidding. Oh, there it goes. Persistence is key. So there it is. Nuts and bolts and friggin' whatever it is. Bolts and washers. Nuts and washers? Nuts and washers are on. Nothing too tight. Don't go crazy. But yeah, cool. Alright, so I'm going to attach this air intake tube up onto the little thingy there. Just make sure you really have a look at which one is which. So I know that this one is our air intake and that's our exhaust. So just when you're putting it in, make sure you make note. Basically, the exhaust one will be closest to the end of the heater that has the air output part, and then this one is closest to the part that has the air intake part. Kind of makes sense, but just make sure you double check before you go attaching the hoses. So just put the hose clamp on there just to secure this while I'm doing it, and then it's said to make some sort of S-curve just to keep debris from coming out of it. So I'm just going to do something to that extent like that, and then just put the little clamp into here and then probably cut it off like right at the end there. There it is. So that's the air intake. Got a little S-curve going, and then we just use a self-tapping screw right there. It's just the easiest thing. Put a little cap on it after cutting it off, and there she is.
So next we're just going to attach the exhaust pipe to the other spigot. So we've just laid it out here on the ground. So we've got the shorter end that's going to be coming just out from the side of the van. And then we've got the muffler here. So the muffler is going to just help it sound dampen a little bit because they can be a little bit noisy. So when you're stealth camping, that's really important. And then the part that attaches to the Espar is going to be the longer portion. So I've just attached the exhaust pipe here, so I'll just show you what it looks like. So I've just attached it to the second spigot there. I've just used a hose clamp right here to tighten that to the spigot. And then I'm going to use other clamps to attach that to the rest of the body and then have it coming from underneath the van there. So I've just got this exhaust pipe running through here. We've attached it to a few places to keep it snug against the body. Now we're just going to attach the muffler to the body here. So we've taken a nut and bolt, and we've already attached this part here, and I'm just going to drill it into the side of the van. Sweet, and then one last clamp to make sure the tip goes outside of the van. Okay, sweet, so now I'll just show you what it looks like. So here's our two spigots. So we've got the air intake is the black one, and we've got that in the S-curve like James said, and we've got that one mounted here, and we wanted to have the exhaust really far from the intake so that we're not getting any of the exhaust up into the air intake. So we've just mounted it as different places, used some zip ties here, the muffler, and then this pointing outside of the van. So we decided not to use the blue fuel line that came with the heat soak kit, just because this isn't heat resistant. So we decided to buy more of this. So this came in the heat soak kit. I think it's 1/8, but it's fuel line, it's heat resistant. So we're just gonna buy 6.5 feet of this 1/8 to run underneath the van from the fuel pump. So right now James is running the line from the fuel pump to the other side of the van.
Alright, so here I am. There's our little air intake and whatever you call it, gas vent lines coming out of there. And then this new one, this one right here, the skinny one that we just added, that's our new 1/8 or something like that fuel line that we bought to replace the blue one. And so I've just put a little hose clamp on it at the base there, and then I'm just running it all the way. Right now it's up there, and I'm gonna run it all the way across to the end of the van over there, because over on that side of the van is where the auxiliary fuel pump connection thingy is. So we need it to connect to that, and then basically the fuel will be provided from this end of the van and come back towards me to where the heater is. And then over on that side we'll also have to mount the fuel pump probably somewhere like up there, roughly.
So some sprinters already have an Espar auxiliary heater underneath the van attached to that auxiliary fuel line. So if you do have the Espar heater like we do, you're going to use the T-junction that came in the heat soak kit, and we're basically just going to cut the line to make that T-junction. If you don't have the Espar heater there, we'll show you in a minute, you can just use an adapter that will link off of Amazon to connect to the 1/8 fuel line.
Alright, so we've just finished running the fuel line over to the driver's side, which is where the auxiliary fuel pump is, or fuel port. So that's the piece that's already connected, running to the current diesel heater. So we're going to cut it there, and then this line runs all the way around this stuff and comes right back here. So then we'll pull it out from this end and reconnect it all right out in front here. Little bag just in case it starts spilling. I actually have no idea what's gonna happen. Oh, dripped a little bit. It's thick. No, it's not.
Good morning. We're on day 2 of our installation here. So I just wanted to give a little recap of what we're doing today. So since our Sprinter van already had an Espar heater in the van, we're going to use a T-junction like this to tee off of the auxiliary line that's already there. So if your van does not have the Espar heater installed already underneath the van, you're going to need an adapter that looks like this. So there's going to be a cap on the auxiliary fuel line, so you can just click that off. This is going to be the first part, and then for example, I've got the rest of what you might need. So it's going to look like this. So you're going to have your adapter, you're going to have a piece of the fat hose that came in the kit. Pretend this is not a T. So you're going to need an adapter that you're going to have to buy. So it's going to go from this, it needs to basically join the fat hose to the skinny hose. So it's going to have to step down here.
Alright, so last night we ran into a little problem. We were trying to follow the diagram exactly, which looks like this. And so essentially we were here, this was our fuel line, it was coming up, and then it was going to connect to this T that they provided, and then that T was going to connect to these little fat pieces of tubing that they provided onto a little metal grommet, and then onto our existing fuel line. And so our fuel line that we cut was going to connect there, and it was going to connect there. So that's what we were trying to do, and this is what it looked like with all their pieces. So that's the little T they gave us, the fat ones, our skinnier hose, and then these little connector pieces, and then this is our fuel line. I just took a piece off to show you. But essentially, they assumed that our fuel line was going to fit into this, but it's just slightly too big, so it doesn't actually fit in there. And then if we were going to skip that and put it right into here, it's slightly too small, so it's not going to fit snug in there. So basically we had to scrap that idea and buy something else this morning. So what we have now is this new little T-junction, and it's just going to use these smaller pieces of hose and just completely skip this part.
So I'm just starting on the electrical portion of the heater. So I'm going to take the main clip. I'm just going to put it inside here, and then I'm going to separate it into 3 parts. So I'm going to run the fuel line portion, which looks like this. It's got a brown and a gray wire. So I'm going to run that through the little hole here. It's going to go underneath my mat, and then I've just lifted up my mat here. Ugh, it's hard to see. And that goes underneath of the van. Okay, so the second part of this is the portion of the wire that's going to connect to the Easy Start timer. So it's got an end that looks like this. If you've got the Pro Kit, it's got this part that's already attached, so that can easily just click into the timer that you're going to mount on your wall. So for this one, it's going on from here to this side of my van. I've got a little bit of a station here where I'm gonna have light switches and whatnot. So I'm just gonna feed mine through. Looks like there's already a little hole right there. So I'm probably just gonna feed that through there, tuck it underneath my floor, and give enough wire to get to that portion. Okay, now I'm on to the third part of the electrical. So the third tip looks like this. So you've got two thicker wires, a brown and a red, and a thinner red one. So I've already run power from the back of our van because that's where our batteries are going to be. So here is the wire I have for my heater. So I've just labeled this heater so I know this is the right one. It's good to stay nice and organized. So I'm just gonna untangle that, run it underneath my floor and into my box here, and then I'll splice everything together. So this is the third part of the wiring harness. It's going to be the power to the Espar heater. So as I said earlier, we've got two thicker wires and the thinner wire. So we're going to take the two pieces that came in the kit. So our kit already had the weatherproofing and the fuse tip on it. So I just cut them to length because I don't need a lot of length. And I'm just going to splice them together. I'm literally just gonna take them, twist them together. If you've got a soldering pen, you could solder that together to make a really solid connection, but I'm just gonna use a wire nut, and then it just twists on. And then you could just tape that all up to make sure that the tip doesn't come off. So there's my skinny wire one. I think that's like a 16 gauge or something. These two are the thicker ones. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to splice them together until it's secure. Tape that all together. These two fuse tips are going to slide into this piece that came with the kit. So you can just slide them in until they click. Sweet. Let's get those both clicked in there now. And I'm just going to put a 5 amp fuse in there. And then, so this is the wire that I had coming from the back of my van. It's not red and black because it was cheaper to buy this in a 3. It's got a ground in there too. Anyway, so mine are white and black, but we're going to treat them the same as the red and black ones. I haven't actually spliced these tips yet, but I'm going to do black to black. And then I'm going to splice my red, which is going to be my white, actually into this thicker part wire here. So it's a little bit confusing, but it should work. And then we'll put a 20 amp fuse in our Blue Sea fuse box at the back.
Alright, so Jenny's fed down this wire from the wiring harness, and so now what we just got to do is connect these two little pieces to the little plastic thing that came in our kit from Heatso. Basically, you just got to take these two ends and slide them in here until you hear them click, and then you got to push down this little flap, and that'll lock it in, and then we just take that and plug it into the thingy there. You can notice there's like a little groove up here. They're kind of square, so it's hard to tell which direction they go in, but you want, basically this is the top here, so they're going in like this, and then you just want to push it in there's the click. Alright, so it looks like that, and then I'm just going to take this flap, press it down, snap. So that's really dope that that was included in our kit. Basically the ends are all crimped and ready for us to put in. Just makes it super easy to install. So now we just take this piece and I'm going to clip it into the little connection up in the fuel pump. There we go. She's in. Holy heck yeah. Let's get out of here.
So I just wanted to do a little update of what my wiring harness looks like now that I'm finished. Here is my mess. It's very complicated, but it works. So here's my wiring harness where it splits into 3 parts. So I've just wrapped up the excess wire to try to organize this a little bit, but this part is going to the fuel line. So that's the part that I had going underneath the seat to James. This line I see here is going to the back of my van on the wall. That's the part that hooks up to the easy start timer. And the last part, this big wire here, was to hook up the power to the heater. So I've got those all spliced together. taped up, and then I've got a 5 amp fuse there, and I probably just drill that to the wall there. So there it is.
Alright, so we had to hold off on finishing up everything yesterday because we didn't have our little hole saw attachment here, but this came in from Amazon last night. So we're gonna do the finishing touches. We're just gonna drill a little hole for the air to vent out in the seat. And I almost forgot, and Jenny's wiring the remaining fuse into our fuse box. Ooh, spicy frisbee. It is advisable to file down those sharp edges just so you don't cut yourself during further installation.
So this is where we've got all of our wires for the van coming to. So our battery bank is going to sit here. It's a little messy right now, but I've got everything labeled for like our stove or our AC outlets and whatnot. So I've just got the heater one here, and I've basically just taken the black to the negative bits here, and I've just screwed it on with the bare metal touching. And I did the same thing with the white one. And I'm just gonna insert the 20 amp fuse and should be good to go. So now this should have power, and it does. Woo! Can you oh, it says no heater. Whoops, we forgot to plug in the wiring harness.
Alright,
let's see it.
Which way? This way. Ready? Dun, dun, it clicked.
Alright. Okay, that looks good. In English, woo, that looks good.
Alright, Jenny just turned it on.
Alright, so it's blowing pretty fast. It's still cold right now. I think the diesel's just probably pumping to the heater for the first time.
Hey guys, I was just putting this video together and realized that Jenny and I never filmed any sort of closing statement. So here that is. Jenny can't be here right now because it's coronavirus, obviously. But here's our finished van. And so that is it all put together. There's the heater, it works. We've got the little mount on the wall all finished now. It's really easy. We're really happy with the finished product, and want to give a big thanks to HeatCell for supplying us with a really easy to put together kit. And we hope you guys found this video helpful in some way. And if you guys want us to do more on our next van, just let us know in the comments. Thanks, bye.